Hey everyone, Andrew Reiner here with another episode of Test Chamber. We're taking a look at a game that came out March 16th, 2010, but is now coming back to PlayStation for today, I guess. This is God of War 3 Remastered. I got Joe Juba here.
Yeah, that's me.
You're playing the game. You reviewed it back in the day. I reviewed it back in the day. We both loved it.
Yeah.
I gave it a 10 out of 10, I think.
Yeah, I did also.
Wow, we really liked it.
Yeah, and you know what? Jumping back into it, I can see why we liked it so much.
It's still good.
Yeah, this is just, I think it's sometimes when so many years have passed, it's you can kind of forget how much you liked a game when you played it for the first time, you know?
And we're looking at not the very beginning of the game, but probably about 5 minutes into the opening cutscene.
Yeah, it's a little bit into the opening cinematic here. And this is the first time that we're actually going to be able to play. And this, one of the things that's actually kind of a double-edged sword when it comes to God of War is that it looked so good on the PS3 that the remastered version, it might be a little bit harder just to see how much better it looks and how much better it runs because, that team at Santa Monica is just so good at making the tech sing,
Right.
But
and Joe's playing, and one thing to point out is it's running at 60 frames per second, 1080p. The video you're watching is not running 60 frames, though. That's just at 30, so trust us, it's running at 60.
Yeah, so it looks great. It's still, it has that familiar God of War gameplay. And this opening sequence is just, I had forgotten how this game just sort of like redefines the idea of what a set piece moment looks like.
Right.
When you're just on the backs of these, titans that are just moving all over the place, and man, just a good looking game.
And the team at Santa Monica is working on a new God of War. They confirmed that at PlayStation Experience last year. Mm-hmm. But sadly, it wasn't at E3. We were all kind of crossing our fingers that it would be there.
Yeah.
Here's hoping we get a look at it soon.
Yeah, because the last game that they worked on was Ascension, right? That was
right.
Santa Monica.
Yep.
Which was sort of there was God of War 3, which ended Kratos' story, and then Ascension came out, which was this weird sort of prequel. That
kind of bridged the gap between generations. Like, well, we got time to make one more game before we go to PS4.
Yeah, and it's not. It wasn't a bad game by any stretch, but it also wasn't. I don't know. It just didn't feel like it was anything. Like this game did such a good job of wrapping up the story that it seemed kind of weird to jump back into it in a story that just didn't feel as important or consequential in the saga. Whereas this one, you're just getting, you are getting revenge left and right in this game.
That's the whole point of this one, right?
Yeah.
It's your ultimate revenge tale. And he doesn't hold back any punches. He's just crazy in this one.
Yeah. And his voice acting is, I think the voice actor actually does a good job. And if there's any fault, it's just with the character himself, which is he's just shouting.
Oh, yeah.
Everything he says is just shouting.
Well, look how big that horse is. You really got to let the lungs do some work to get your voice heard by that thing. Any other changes on this PS4 version? Any additions?
Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot here content-wise that people will notice. The main thing we've got is this, which is photo mode.
Cool.
Which we've seen in some remastered editions before too. So it gives you the option to sort of like zoom in, take a good look at things, add fancy frames to it, fancy filters.
Ooh, bloom. I like that option.
It's already pretty high.
Yeah, man, that's as high as it gets.
Bring it down. So yeah, the photo mode is probably the major thing, and you can sort of like take screenshots of this stuff then.
You made it look like Devil May Cry.
Yeah, it does actually. It really does. So that's the main sort of feature addition. This game didn't have like a ton of DLC missions and stuff like that to include to make it a sort of definitive package kind of thing.
Right.
So for people who haven't played the game before, this is a fantastic way to do it. For people, like you and I who played the original, unless you're really just looking to re-experience it, I would say that there's probably not a ton here to really recommend. Like, oh yeah, you have to go back and see how they handle this stuff. You know? That's not just, I mean, again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm down on it, because the core game is still just fantastic.
For people that haven't played any God of War, they have a PS4. What is your take on, should they go back and play 1 and 2 first, or can they just jump into this one?
I mean, I guess it depends on how important story is to you. I think from a gameplay perspective, this one, God of War 3, is just the tightest and the best. But if you want to know why exactly Kratos is on the back of a Titan right now and why he's fighting, I mean, so really what it is, it's like God of War 3 is the culmination of a long revenge story, right?
Right.
So it helps to have a good, a good concept of why he's trying to get revenge. But if that's not as important to you and you just want some cool, flashy action, I'd say you could probably jump in.
Yeah, without spoiling anything, you could just say really bad things happened in his life, and he's angry.
Yeah, and for the fans, there are lots of callbacks in here. You know, there's a callback to the final boss of the original God of War. There's a callback to the final boss of one of the PSP God of Wars. So, like, for the fans of the series, there's definitely enough here to, to sort of reward and acknowledge previous experience, while at the same time, I don't think it requires it.
But you do have the option. There are the remastered versions on PS4 of the first two.
Or is it PS4 or PS3?
There is a PS3.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
It's PS3.
Let's look that up.
And you can also get remastered versions on PS3 of the handheld ones too, I believe. The ones that Ready at Dawn developers
they did
The Order.
They did 2 of them.
Yep. I'm trying to remember. So there was Chains of Olympus and Ghosts of Sparta, I think. I don't remember the exact
6 God
names.
of War adventures with Kratos.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
So with that said, are you hoping the next game brings back Kratos? Has enough time passed? Or do you want him to go to like some other character, some other mythology?
Yeah, I think it's just time. I think it's time to move on. Like Kratos, I feel like his story is told. There's something to be said for just moving on when the time is right, rather than milking something past its prime.
Yeah, and I mean he revenges everybody. That's his big thing.
Yep.
Like, he just goes nuts.
Yep. And like, man, this without spoiling anything, this game ends in such a way that I guess it would leave it open potentially for a sequel if you wanted it.
Sure.
But it would necessarily have to be a little bit different too. So I don't know. I guess for me, this game, like this whole series, does so much with Greek mythology and really kind of exhausts, like, man, you just kill a bunch of gods, you kill a bunch of, like, it reimagines Cyclops and Minotaurs and all these creatures. There are lots of other cool mythologies out there that might be fun to explore. I don't know if it, necessarily always has to be Greek or what. So.
Yeah, and Ben Hansen, I think it was Ben Hansen, did a interview with Ready at Dawn when we were doing the Order 1886 cover story. And there was just a little line in there dropped that before they started doing the God of Wars, they did that they were thinking of maybe doing other mythologies. Like that.
Yeah.
That discussion was had at some point.
Yeah. So yeah, that could be really cool, but that's what I would personally like to see. At the same time, I don't think it would be impossible to convince me that it would be good to have more. That it would be good to have more Kratos too. I just blew it.
You know what I'd rather see than you trying to make that jump again?
What's that?
Let's move forward and show off some later gameplay.
All right, sounds good. But I'm going to make the jump anyway.
All right, Joe, where are we at in the game now?
All right, so we are now in the underworld. Like I said, you spend a lot
Look where the arrow is. It's right in his butt. Oh, that's great.
I said, you spend a lot of time getting revenge, so we are here going after Hades, the god of the underworld. So that's
as you do.
We're just heading into his palace, just strolling right in. Whoops!
Probably not a serious threat. Wow!
Dang it! Sorry, guys. We'll try that again.
Yeah, just mess them up with chains.
You know, it is weird trying to play. I mean, I think we talk about this a lot, but
pretty much every episode.
Yeah, trying to play and talk at the same time gets a little bit confusing sometimes. Anyway, so at this point, At this point, we've gone through the classic moment where we have been robbed of all of our powers that you saw us using before. Our health bar and magic bar is a lot lower. All that kind of stuff.
And we have some dogs. Maybe they're friendly. Don't attack yet. Try to call for them. Yeah, pet them.
I'll tell you what. Three-headed fire dogs are not your friends.
What's the name of the dog in Ghostbusters? Gozer?
Was that a dog?
I don't know. Some kind of demon.
That's
what?
Yeah, so that's a new, one of his new spells. You still got, man, like I remember when the first God of War came out and those button press kill mini games just weren't everywhere constantly all the time.
They don't bother me in this though. They're always so satisfying.
Yeah, they feel at home in God of War for sure. Whoops. Oof. All right, I'm definitely not playing my best here.
I mean, you're talking.
Well, I'm not even talking.
You're breathing at the same time too. That's super hard.
So one of the cool things in God of War 3 is this. Actually, we'll get to that in a second. I want to take advantage of this. One of the cool things that they added is this, the item use. Whereas in previous games, if you had special items, they would often they would take magic or something.
Right.
So you would end up kind of conserving them more than you should. So in this one, that yellow bar up in the corner is basically your new item bar, and it refills really quickly. So it gives you the chance to actually kind of integrate your items into combat more than you would have in previous games. That's one of the reasons why I was saying before, if you want to, that this game really does have the best combat in it because of things like that. Just they've had all of these games to sort of refine their systems and figure out what players use, the way they use them, and things like that.
And the QTEs, was this the first one that put them on the sides of the screen too?
Yeah, so you don't need to pay. You can still see the action and see what's going on while in your periphery sort of getting a sense of what buttons you can press.
Yeah, you're not just focusing right on that button.
Right, exactly.
You know it's square over there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Such a great conclusion to a series. One of the best, I would say, in video games.
Yeah,
I thought Batman Arkham Knight, I know people are sick of us talking about that, but that was a good conclusion. Mass Effect, I know a lot of people disagree, but I thought that was super good too.
Yep. I mean, basically anything that gets a 10 out of 10 is something that's worth, for me, that score means that it just sort of changes the way you see games, changes the way, changes the things you expect from games. And I think in terms of concluding a series, this one just does a fantastic job.
How many people in this kingdom do you think could get that door open? And then the person that gets that door open, how many can squeeze through this next door? That one.
Yeah, that's a good point. Something tells me that general accessibility is not a focus in Hades. It's not a big thing they're shooting for. So, I know. I think that pretty much covers the bases in terms of what makes this game great, this series fun, and the additions to the remastered version, while not extensive, the improved performance is nice. The photo mode for the people who are, if you really want to appreciate, like I was saying, just the way Sony Santa Monica can really just make their games look so good. And
one other thing to point out we didn't show in this, that wasn't a boss fight that you just saw. The boss fights in this game are really clever, especially the way they conclude them a lot of times. There's one moment toward the end of the game that is just, I don't know how many times I hit a button, and I just had no idea what was going on, but I was just laughing my ass off the whole time because it's absolutely hilarious.
Definitely.
Way too brutal.
Yeah, just cartoonishly gory. Just amazing.
Oh, great, the mana tree. Let's end the video there. So thanks for watching. This is God of War 3 Remastered out on PlayStation 4 right now. Definitely worth a look. And as Joe says, even if you haven't played the other ones, it's probably worth your time. It's just a really fun game. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks, Joe. And thanks for Ben Hansen in the booth. We'll see you next time on Test Chamber.